All right, let's see what we got here. Gene Perry here with the Free Hands Academy. Welcome to the weekend. This is my first stream on the channel, and we're going to be looking at the StompMix-4 today. I've coupled it with a couple of my favorite pedals, the Boss RC4, or rather the RC5. Even better than the RC4 is the RC5. And the Alexander Pedals Space Force Reverberator. This one is got the space shuttle on there. It's kind of a limited edition. But the real star of the show today is the StompMix. And what I'm going to show you how to do today is to use this second output right here on the side. If you couple that with a TRS jack, and you can port that into 1/4-inch cables, you can feed that back into the StompMix here on channels 3 and 4 and use these as an external effects loop. So what am I talking about? Well, imagine this. The StompMix on its own has a 1-knob compressor. It has a 1-knob gate. It has noise gate. It has like the full spectrum of EQ. It's got this notch filter. There's a number of different ways to configure the pedal itself. It has all these features built into it. So it really doesn't need a lot of additional pedals. I firmly believe that. But the option to add a looper is so enticing. And so what I want to do is I want to loop on the bass side, but not on the melody side. So I have to figure out how to do that. Now I could just put a looper in front of the pedal going into it. That would be one solution. But I'm going to try to do it using an effects loop. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for this big reverb on the melody side. And I only want it on the melody side. So I have to figure out, well, how do I do that? And so how do you do that? Well, I'll show you. Let's get into the StompMix-4 here. See if I can't get that view going. Okay, here we go. So currently I've got the pedals set up to mute the left and the right hand. So if we go into this setup screen right here, the first thing that you'll see is that I've got, and you may not be able to see it very well, but output 2 is set to AUX, right? So that means that on this output 2 coming to this TRS jack is my auxiliary output, and that my main output is coming through output 1 through a pair of 1/4-inch jacks. Okay, that's the first thing. Now I've got the mutes set up for A and B, but that's just for convenience, right? Because I want to be able to check one hand and the other. Okay. Reverb works. So now we've got the assigns set up. We've got the pedal set up. So the next thing we want to do is get into this page here. And I'll show you for channel 4, I've got channel 4 set up for my reverb. So you can see that it's not on at all right now. But if I raise that up, well, I've got reverb, right? I've got a lot of reverb. And so that's not the level of my actual melody side, right? My melody side Chapman stick is on 1, right? So if I want the reverb, I just use that. Right? So how'd you do that? Well, I'll show you. So using the auxiliary output, you can see here that I've got channels 1 and 2 set to about 50%. But where I'm kind of separating the signals is using the panning. So let's look at the aux mix here and look at the auxiliary pan. And so you can see that I've got channel 1 panned hard to the right, right? See that? All the way to the right. If I move that to the left, none of it's going through, right? You see, none of it's going through the reverberator. But if I turn it to the right, well, now we've got plenty. So that means that the aux channel here is sending signal all the way to the right, this cable going to the reverberator, which is then coming back into line 4. Okay. So we just did the same thing for the looper. So you can see for channel 2, I've got that panned all the way to the left, right? So if and when I want the loop, I can have the loop, I can adjust that level. from my main mix. Let's get back here. Here. Okay, so if I want the loop, I would do that from channel 3. So I set that to right about there. Let's get a loop going in the bass side. I just happen to have one there. Right, so I can adjust the volume there. If I want to do some experimentation live with that, that's kind of cool. I kind of hate bending over in the middle of a set and doing that. But you can do that. And then kind of the way I've configured the pedal is that sometimes I suck at looping. And so it's hard for me to hit the pedal twice, which is actually what stops it. That stops the loop. Because if you just hit it once, right, it just opens up the loop. It's yellow now, you can't really see it. But it's saying like, go ahead and loop some more. Now I've closed the loop. What I want it to do is just stop. And if I just want it to stop, right, you just press that and it stops. Okay, it stops. Right, it doesn't stop the loop, but it stops you from hearing the loop, so that's good enough. The only thing that stops the loop is a quick double tap. Okay, so there you have it. This is a way to use the StompMix-4 to, if you're just running melody and bass side into the instrument, then you can, then it's kind of easy. You can use an outboard compressor. Lots of different options. Let's just play something really quickly. Yeah. I'll show you the EQ settings I have for the StompMix currently. Let's take a look at that. So for the melody side, I'm almost running everything straight up right there. The reverb that I'm using a little bit of compression. And for the bass side, I've actually lowered the bass because it was just putting through kind of too much kind of energy into the unit, and it was just kind of flooding the headphones. A good way to check this actually is to check your levels here in your input meters. It's always a good place to start. Make sure you're not peaking right there. Actually, let's take a moment to look at that really quickly. So if you're going to use channels 1 and 2 with a passive pickup, you're going to want to select these pads on the side. And so to kind of prove my point here, while you're looking at the input meter here, like, let's see if we can do this. Right, you hear it just open up. And you don't want that much signal. So I do not pad the melody side, I do pad the bass side. Okay, so, because that was just peaking in the red, so. Yeah, so I think that about does it for the StompMix. I did want to take a look at that input meter because this is just really good to look at. If you've got active pickups and you're coming into here, it wasn't too much of a difference. But I just found that when you didn't have the pad on, it just flooded. It just got really loud really fast. Yeah, so it was just easier to have that on. Yeah, I think that's about it for the first stream here. I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover with the StompMix. We looked at the way to kind of set up the looper there. We looked at the way to set up the reverb on separate channels for both the bass and the melody side. We took a look at the input meters there, which you should really start with. And then also something that I highly recommend, and maybe we'll just do a quick look at how to do this. If and when you're getting levels on your, let's say on your bass side, let's see here. You want to select the pad here and then slowly bring it up to make sure that you're not peaking, right? Right. At some point it just clicks over and it just goes into the red. Right? And you gotta bring it down. A little bit lower there. Right. So that's where you want to be. You can use a little compression to even that out. but do that with your melody side as well. And you can try leaving the pad off on that one. All right. I think that about covers everything that I wanted to cover with the StompMix-4. I did want to look at the input meters there so you can get a good level. You can pad your melody side or not. Definitely pad your bass side. If you're setting up the that output 2 as an effect send, make sure that you're panning things to the left and the right on your channels accordingly so you can get the isolation. And I hope you enjoyed the stream, and thanks so much for tuning in. Take care.